If you have been wanting to get an inside look behind the paywall of the Alveary Charlotte Mason curriculum, this video is for you. Today, I am going to be giving you a sneak peek and a flip through in the Alveary's geography curriculum for grades 4 to 6 and grade 1. And following these videos, I'm going to be starting a series of all of the Alveary's guides that I will be using and give you a sneak peek into those as well. So if you're interested in Charlotte Mason or knowing more about the curriculum company called the Alveary, stick around. If you're new to my channel or this video was recommended to you and you've never heard of the Alveary was produced by the Charlotte Mason Institute, and they are a curriculum company that produces guides for every single one of Charlotte Mason's subjects and enrichment courses and all of those things from kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. And they do an excellent job of producing really well planned out lesson plans and guides for every single one of those subjects with books that are just absolutely beautiful and well thought out. They just really do such a wonderful job in picking out a wide variety of books from various backgrounds and throughout history and time, the great old classics, as well as some new modern books that are really well worth taking a look at. I really love them, and you can go back and look at some other videos about the Alveary. I'm not going to get into them today, but I know that several of you have been interested in taking a closer look. And with the Alveary, as with most Charlotte Mason curriculum set up in this format, you can't take a look at their guides until you sign up and get a membership. But I did speak with one of the Alveary staff, and she said that I was able to provide a flip through and talk about the curriculum as we use them, and also even show you aspects of the dashboard, which is where we would go in and we can log into all the lesson plans, the extra guides, the extra helpings, the Hive, which is the Charlotte Mason community of parents and teachers, where we can go in and ask questions. There are so many resources available on the Alveary's dashboard. For today, I'm going to go into the geography course. I really love how the Alveary designs their geography. I find it just so different from anything else that I've ever done, and it's so well thought out and well planned with a variety of different aspects of geography and ways to study the subjects. So today I'm going to show you what those things look like and describe them. So I have a grade 5 student, and their geography course is for the Form 2s. In Charlotte Mason, they divide groups. Grades 1 to 3 would be considered a Form 1. Grades 4 to 6 is Form 2. Grades 7 and 8 is Form 3, and so on. So in Charlotte Mason, I think 7 to 9 might be Form 3. So in Charlotte Mason, they divide them that way. And for the geography, they design a curriculum for grades 4 to 6. And so that is what I'm going to be doing this coming year with my grade 5 student. So I have some notes here in case I don't want to miss anything and I don't want to give any wrong information. So in their geography course this year, it's going to be coinciding with their history cycle, and they will be in the Middle Ages. So they're going to be studying continents, trade routes, and rivers in the Middle Ages between the year 800 and 1650 AD, as well as the economy and culture of various regions throughout those areas. In term 1, they're going to specifically be following the travels of Marco Polo, where he traveled through the Mediterranean, Europe, and Asia. He met interesting people like Kublai Khan. And we will be reading the living book called Marco Polo, written by Manuel Komroff. That book is a classic, it's very well written, and it really is more of a translation of Marco Polo's work himself called The Travels of Marco Polo, I believe. In term 3, we're going to be studying a book called The Royal Kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, and that's written by Patricia McKissack. And this will be studying the civilizations of Western Africa in the Middle Ages. A third book we'll also be reading in both terms, and this book, if you pick this book up, it's a great book because they study it throughout several years for geography and several grades. It is called The Great Rivers of the World, and we will be using it for all 3 terms this coming year. It's a hardcover book. It's a big book. I'll show you here, but in size, it's like about this big, if you can see my hands in the screen there. And it's a nice, really beautifully colorful pages and pictures, and very interesting to see all the great rivers of the world and all of the civilizations that have risen and fallen surrounding all those great river systems. So those are the living books, and primarily they're going to be following those people, so Marco Polo, and then different kingdoms and peoples of Western Africa, and study all the different regions that are looked at. So you will be doing map work and studying about all those different climates and topographical interesting aspects of the maps, and the peoples and economy, and what it might look like back in the Middle Ages during those times, for all of those places that will be touched on in the living books. It's scheduled out to be done 2 days a week, and for grades 4 to 6, it's for 25 minutes each. Now, you can now begin to get your students to start being somewhat independent. So you can group together and do a bit of an overview or an introduction. You can get them to do a bit of mapping, like there's some map questions that come next, but then you can send your students off to go do their own reading independently. And then they might come back to you after to narrate, discuss. And then there's always some other type of map drill or mapping activity, or even mapping projects that will come in at the end of the class time. And you can spend a few minutes each class time working on this project. It's spread out over several weeks. So the general format of a lesson in the grade 4 to 6 geography would look like you would provide them an overview and an introduction of that lesson. So actually first, that would be the very first, number 1 lesson, that's how you'd start out. But second lesson and so on, you're first going to recap. So you're going to get them to tell back, what do you remember from last week? And do a very quick recap. And that helps solidify the knowledge that they learned from previous lessons. And they get to start fitting and putting everything all together. Then you're going to do a very brief overview and an introduction. It might take a minute long. The Alveary provides you a little paragraph that you can read and tell your students about, this is what you're going to be learning this week. And then there are very interesting mapping questions where they're going to go through, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, another book that you need to get along with this course is an atlas. The one they recommended last year was the National Geographic Student Atlas. That's what I'll be using again this year. But they just have a Student World Atlas any Student World Atlas is what they recommend to purchase for this course. So you're going to go through the atlas and you're going to ask them specific questions. You're going to say, well, I'll go through some examples for you, but you're going to ask them questions and they're going to have to locate it on the map. Then they're going to go do their reading, or you read aloud to them if you prefer. I always love to do that, but this year I'm going to have to get my daughter to do a lot more independent reading so that I can be working in my grade 1 students' subjects. I've decided this year to do some family subjects and some separate subjects so that she just gets an opportunity to go a little bit deeper on her own rather than just tailing along with her older sister. I found that she wasn't the focus because the topics were a bit more in depth for her age. She wasn't able to really dig in as well. So I'm just going to choose a lot more of her grade 1 subjects and do them separately, but we will be doing some joint subjects. If you want to take a look, I'll link below in the description where I talk about all the subjects we're doing this year in case you're interested and if you've missed that video. So she will go and read. She's then going to come back, and I prefer written narrations. Now for Form 2s 4 to 6, they recommend I think 4 written narrations in all of their subjects a week. I could be wrong, but I believe just from memory that's how many, and the rest would be oral. So in all of their reading every single day, out of all of those, 4 of them could be written and the rest could be oral. But I find because my daughter is doing independent work and she likes to write, she would prefer to give me a written narration. Now, here's a caveat. Oral narrations are still very important. because providing you with really well structured sentences is sometimes we can write something well and think about it, but can we just talk and speak clearly, concisely, with good use of vocabulary and things like that in a well-structured sentence, which really comes in handy in a lot of aspects in the future, even in present day. And so I do still get her to do oral narrations for me. So she would come back, do an oral narration, and then we would discuss a little bit, and we would keep that brief. I don't do a long discussion with her. I guess that would be more important, I think, if you found that through the narration they didn't quite grasp the main points of the story. Then it might be time to kind of hone in and discuss. And then there will be mapping, map drill, map activity, or a mapping project. And you would then do that. I won't do it with her. I will then set her up and say, okay, here's what you're going to do next, and let her go ahead and work on that and give her the instructions. So that is for grade 4. So now let me show you what that will look like. And I'm really excited to be able to show you what the inside of the Alveary's lesson plans look like. They are just so well put together. So the Alveary's lesson plans come as a PDF file, and you can print them yourself. It comes in this pretty green shades, but you can also print them in black and white, of course. Now, if you don't want to print them, they will bind them for you or print them for you, and they send it to you in a binder, probably something similar to this, with all the dividers and everything, the way that they would set it up. But I find it easy just to print it myself. So you can see here, this is the grades 4 to 6. Alveary lesson plan, geography, and there's the Alveary, the Charlotte Mason Institute. So they always give you a little bit about section, which you should read before your course starts. They tell you which is what I've told you at the beginning of the video. So it says here, they'll travel along rivers, across continents, and along trade routes significant during this year's period of time, 800 to 1650, which is the Middle Ages, and explore the physical and human geography, including economy and culture of each region through reading, map work, and models. So they give you a placement tip that it is recommended for grades 4 to 6, and you can sometimes include older students and give them some advanced map work, and they do include some tips on that as well. There is a QR code, and there are extra helpings and things like that that you can go to try to beef up the course if you need to, or, and vice versa, do a little less for younger students. So for grades 4 to 6, they recommend 2 times a week, 25 minutes each. And these are the books that they will be studying: Marco Polo, The Royal Kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Sangay, and The Great Rivers of the World. And of course, the Student World Atlas. They don't have listed there, but that is also necessary for this course. And they just have a sample schedule, but you can do it any 2 days a week you like. I believe we're doing it on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And there's a QR code here, but I'm not going to show that so that you aren't able to. I can't give you access to that, but they are all the links. And the QR codes give you links to videos, maps, articles, pictures, blank maps so that you can do your map drills and all those kinds of things. There's just so many resources there for you. So again, this is just an overview of how you might do a lesson, so that you'll do an overview, an introduction, mapping questions, read, narrate, and discuss, and map work or a map project. So they're just kind of reiterating that part of it. And here is the lesson plan. So you can see there is a lot here. I have not seen Charlotte Mason lesson plans that provide so much information. So in lesson 1, they tell you that we're going to be reading about a boy in Venice. The materials you need are Marco Polo and a Student World Atlas. And they just tell you here how to prep. You might provide all the definitions that are in the column here. So you can see here they have Oriental, Talisman, Vermilion, Tartars, etc. There's a link for a video afterwards, and extra helpings is Venice is a beautiful city full of canals. If you're interested to learn more about how this city was built, you can watch this video. So that's the extra helping for this week. And then you give them this introduction. So you're going to tell them that for terms 1 and 2, we will read about Marco Polo, a merchant and explorer who traveled from Italy to China along the Silk Road and recorded his adventures in his book. So I won't read everything to you, but you're giving this introduction, and then you're going to tell them to take a look at this map. You're going to trace his route from Kambalu, which is now modern-day Beijing, China, back to Venice. And then they're going to ask you, you're going to ask them these questions. So they're going to look in their atlas, and you're going to tell them to locate Europe. Is it north or south of the equator? So you're getting them familiar with a map. You're getting them familiar with even things like understanding latitude and longitude, and what countries border what, and what oceans are what bodies of water are in the areas, and all those things. So that you're getting them used to paying attention to all those details. I really think this is an excellent part of it because it really gets them to hone in and get used to looking at and understanding how maps work. Then you're going to get them to read, and the sections aren't long. They're going to begin with chapter 1 and read pages 1 to 8. It's the whole chapter, it says here. And these are the questions you might ask them when they narrate or recap what they've read. How was Marco Polo being prepared for this journey his whole life? What are your impressions of Kublai Khan? I think this is really good because often I've seen in Charlotte Mason curriculum where they just say, now get your child to narrate what they've read about. And you yourself may not know what is the most important aspect of the book. Now, one thing about Charlotte Mason is that she did recommend that the parents pre-read the materials ahead of time. I will be pre-reading some things, but not everything. So if you're not able to pre-read everything, these questions will help you focus in on what should I expect my child to know. Then they're going to view a picture of Kublai Khan and a map that shows the Yuan dynasty that Kublai Khan ruled over. And then there's the links. That is lesson 1. So this whole lesson is intended to take about 25 minutes long. And then I'll just show you, so this is the continuation, the day 2 of lesson 2 of the first week. You're going to prep by printing 6 blank maps, and they provide you all of these maps through the QR code. And it's going to be all the Mediterranean countries. You're going to read them the second intro, and you're going to let them know in this intro that they are going to be spending time doing a map drill, map work, and map making projects. And they will be learning about Europe during the first term. And they will break up Europe into different sections for a couple of weeks at a time. And they will look at countries around the Mediterranean Sea. And a few of the countries are not part of Europe. So then you're going to do that map work again, where you're going to take a look at your atlas and get them to find and identify all these places. And then they're going to do their map drill. So in a map drill, they are going to locate all of these places, and then you're going to fill them in on their blank maps and get them to learn how to, at some point, be able to identify all of them without looking, by memory work, because they're repeating these things several times over and over. And eventually they will be able to remember the entirety of the area that you are studying over that time period. So they're just all these different questions that they're going to look at. So with Italy, what forms the boundaries of Italy? So which countries? And other things, the sea, Mediterranean Sea. Name the 4 branches of the Mediterranean bordering Italy. Here is an example of where they're going to fill it in. So it says, now use your Mediterranean map in your notebook, and you're going to fill in all the rest of the countries, and they tell you which ones to fill in. And this is how so in 6th grade, they're going to even give you a more challenging part. So this might be 4th and 5th grade. And 6th grade, they'll be doing even the capitals on their blank maps as well. So all of these places they're going to be adding into their blank maps, doing map questions, and then over time you're going to actually get them to just do it from memory. So this is what a map, the blank map, would look like, and it's what you would use to answer all these questions and eventually fill in all the names of the places. And here is the first mapping activity. It says, look at the map that was printed out of Marco Polo's journey, tape it in your notebook, Trace over the route of Marco Polo with a different color marker or pencil as you read about it in the book. On the other side of your notebook, you will write down some of the descriptions of places he traveled or anything else noteworthy about his travels. What can you say about his trip so far? Write a couple of sentences or even bullet points. And then you're going to watch another video about Venice, Italy, the Grand Canal Palaces. So beginning in lesson 14, they are now going to be doing a different type of mapping activity. They're going to be learning how to draw to scale, and they're going to begin with something like a room where they're going to measure all the pieces of furniture and all the parts of the room and put it to scale. So for example, 1 inch might represent 1 foot, and they're going to learn how to draw everything exactly to scale and make a map of a room, a bedroom, a classroom, something like that. And they're going to work on that for the next few weeks. And they also provide the information that you're going to put in your book of centuries or your history timeline. They'll give you the dates of what they want you to put in it. And they also add in this additional brush drawing. If you're doing brush drawing as part of your art for this coming year, they will tell you to do a brush drawing of a scene from the book as well. So term 1 has 12 weeks and they will begin their exams. They have the exams at the back of the book. Let me just show you. So here are the exam questions for term 1, term 2, and term 3. And they have links for the maps as well because they will be doing map drills and a listing of all the countries that they're expected to also memorize as well. So it's very detailed. It's really a great geography course. So in their geography notebook, for every single country and city and all those things and rivers and oceans and things that they're going to be looking at, they're going to be including either a drawing of a map if they so choose, or the blank map provided by the Alveary where they can label it, color it, and things like that and add it to their notebook. So geography for grade 1 is just for grade 1. They aren't grouping the forms together, grades 1, 2, and 3, because it's an introduction to where you live, where you come from. And so they want the grade 1 students to do it just this beginner intro course alone. Now, what they do recommend is that if your students in grades 2 and 3, or maybe, well, grades 2 and 3, if they have never done geography before, they do recommend that you start in the grade 1 course and then move on from there, because there's going to be a lot of beginner ideas and concepts about geography that will be covered. And Charlotte Mason did want you to first study your surroundings, your home, and where you live before you start looking out at other countries. So for grade 1 geography in the Alveary, they are going to be discovering the Earth's continents, the changing seasons, so that's planet Earth just in general, the changing seasons, latitude and longitude, map making, and topographical features, getting used to identifying different topographical features. They will be using a globe, wall maps, and models while taking an in-depth look at their home in North America. So it is also scheduled 2 days a week, but for only 15 minutes each lesson. And they will be reading these following books over the term, and I'll put pictures of them right here. Elementary Geography, Me on the Map, What Makes Day and Night, The Reasons for the Seasons, and Down Comes the Rain. A lesson also follows a similar pattern to the grades 4 to 6. You will first recap the previous lesson, unless it's the very first lesson of the year. You will give them an overview and an introduction to the upcoming lesson. You will then read, and of course for grade 1, most likely you'll be reading to them, although they are easier books. So your grade 1 to 3 students might be able to read these books as well, or help to read. You'll read, narrate, and discuss, and then you will practice by doing some demonstrations and map making, and then you will also be doing your own map work. So that is the flow of the lesson. So let me show you a closer look again of the grade 1's guide and lesson plans. So again, I've just put it in the same binder. We have grade 1, the Alveary lesson plan, geography, and this is from the Charlotte Mason Institute. And here we have the about the course. So this is, again, something you should read before you even begin the course. And I won't read this. This is what I just said in my intro, so I won't read this to you again. It talks about placement, about grade 2 and 3 students taking this course if they've never studied geography. Here's their schedule, 2 times a week, 15 minutes each, and the list of books that will be required, and just a sample schedule. And again, we're doing ours on Wednesdays and Thursdays. They have little symbols here throughout all of their guides to show that a T with a square means that it requires a full teacher attention. This means half teacher attention and little teacher attention. That is the way that they would describe each certain courses. So this one is T with a square. So the teacher, you will be participating in all aspects of this course with your student. And they just talk about planning and prepping, the books again, and that you will have a QR code with all the extra helpings, map work, and all those things, videos, pictures. An overview of what each lesson would look like, which I just discussed, but you can take a look there. And then we begin with term 1, lesson 1. So you are going to, these are the materials that they tell you need for this, this particular lesson. You will need the book Elementary Geography, orange or styrofoam ball, pen or marker. And then you're going to read, narrate, and discuss. You're going to be talking about the sun and moon. Well, so what they do here is they tell you where to begin. So you might not be reading an entire chapter. So they tell you what words you should begin with and what words to end on. And then you would pick up in the next lesson after this phrase. So they do that if you're not reading an entire chapter. Then you're going to be demonstrating. So you're going to be using a ball or orange to demonstrate the activity from page 6 in this book. And that's it. That was lesson 1. Here is lesson 2. So you would recap. You're going to observe. You're going to place a car or small object on a globe and start to spin the globe slowly. If you continue to do this, are there times you cannot see the object? If so, when? Then you're going to read and narrate and discuss. That's lesson 2. So they're very short. They may even take less than 15 minutes. Then here's lesson 3. So you're going to recap last week. You're going to do another demonstration where you're going to spin a ball on your finger. And then you are going to read, narrate, and discuss. Again, recap, read, narrate, and discuss. That's lesson 4. So this is 2 weeks of material. And so on. So they will eventually be getting into map work. And let me just skip ahead to show you. So there's also videos and links as well for them. Here they're going to be making a model of and draw a symbol of a map of the room, like in the book Me on the Map. So here's something, a room model they're going to be designing. And here they're going to be making another model using Legos or blocks, where they're going to be looking at their home and their immediate neighbor's home and try to make a model of that. Here they're going to be drawing a sun as it rises and sets on their street map. So they're going to be having a street map and they're going to be adding the sun and showing where it rises and where it sets. Here's another interesting demonstration. They're going to be cutting an orange in half from the top to bottom and scoop out the flesh. And they're going to say, are you able to flatten it? And if so, how? And the teacher's going to draw simple shapes of the continents on the blown up balloon and carefully cut it from the pole to pole and try to stretch it flat. So you're going to be looking at all these 2D dimension world map. Which map, a globe or a 2D dimension, are more accurate and why? And then we come to the end of term 1 and they will also have exams. And let me just show you what their exams will look like at the back of the book. Oh, gone too far. There they are. There are their term exams. So in their term exams, they are not going to be doing a map drill. So they are going to tell what happens when you try to flatten out something that is round, like the earth or an orange. How does the earth's roundness make it hard to draw a flat map? And you're going to build a model of a room in your home. And similar types of things where they're going to tell back and they may also demonstrate something. in terms 1, 2, and 3. I won't go through every single page, but that is a closer look at the Alveary's geography. So that is the Alveary's geography. I really find the lesson plans are just so well put together. There's just so much detail in there. And if I were to try to put together my own geography curriculum, I just really wouldn't have the time to do all of that, to put all in the thought of all the ideas, the questions, going through all those books, and even knowing that in some of the books there are content that isn't appropriate, because if I were to pick up something, you wouldn't know till you got there. And so they really do all of that legwork for you, and I just really enjoy the Alveary's geography. So in next videos, I'm going to be going over other guides and subjects that we are going to be using with the Alveary. And I also plan on covering a few of the ones that we aren't going to be doing in case you are also choosing the Alveary, but you are going to be following all of their subjects, which I at first intended to do, but we've now decided to do our own grammar, our own science, and a little bit of our own history, and only because, in case I didn't explain it well in the past, the only reason why I'm not doing the Alveary's history timeline this year is because we have done the Middle Ages twice already. Now, I love the Middle Ages. I would love to be following along the history cycle with the Alveary, but we have done the Middle Ages twice, and we've done ancient twice, and we have never moved on to early modern history. So we are going to be doing early modern history this year, but we are going to dip into some of the Alveary's history, like Canadian history, this coming year, which really would be part of the early modern as well. But that's all I have for you. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you check out future videos if you're interested in seeing what else the Alveary has. I really think it is so well put together. Their staff, the people who put this curriculum together, are highly trained. Shannon Whiteside has her master's in theology, but also has her PhD in education, specifically in designing and creating curriculum. And they just do an amazing job over there. I'm so happy with everything that we have done over this past year, and I am so looking forward to this coming year. But I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.